it's there, right? And the interesting thing is, I had that on my website and I had all this interactive stuff and they took pictures of like me and my kid in a at a coffee shop, and it was lifestyle. And that was, I'm talking the 90s, they didn't have lifestyle investing, but that was what we were doing. And the good news is, everybody, my website more than paid, the marketing company more than paid, like tripled my earnings, because that was when people were looking on websites for agents. And I got one investment banker, who then I got another investment banker, and then that was it. I just started getting all these referrals because they're like, hey, you're the positive energy on the west side, you're gonna help us find a place, right? So just think about that, when you have like a weekend to just sit down and go, okay, what's my mission statement? I know my company's mission statement, but what do I represent? And how do I represent my clients? What is it I'm trying to create for them? And am I a legacy investor? Is that what I'm building for them? Okay, so that's the part of mission, vision, value. Okay, so there's a quote that Gary has, and it's, anyone can do it, not everyone can. Everyone can do it, not everyone can. Will you? So when you think of that quote, anyone can do it, but not everyone will or can. Please think about it. Work ethic, right? Mindset.
Discipline.
You have to have the grit. Yes. I remember being a part of a traditional brokerage, and I remember this person used to do really great marketing, or this was before I hired the company, and he would get all these listings, and I was like, hey, could I see like a sample like of your stuff? Because I'm really trying to, I was new to LA and I'm from Hawaii, and everyone was like sharing in Hawaii, and they were like, they were like, no, I can't. And I'm thinking, what is the matter? You're you, I'm me. It's not like, so in this statement, what I think about is I could sit here and show you guys the best listing presentation, like the best listing, and you could all go out and use a listing presentation. Will you all do it? No. Will you all present it the way I would present it? No. Will you have the scripts for the objections that are about to come when you're talking with the seller? No. Because it takes grit, it takes discipline, it takes mindset, it takes hard work, right? So that's what Gary means when he says anyone can do it, not everyone would. Why is it that in every company, in every brokerage, there's the 20-80 rule? The 20% of the agents make 80% of the money, because those are the ones that will and can, right? So I trust by the end of Ignite, you will remove any limiting beliefs you have. You will reignite and re-energize yourself in this new market, because it is a new market. And we have to change the way we do things. And we have to change the way we look at things, because if you do that, then the things you look at change. Okay, gone are the days when you could put your property on the market and it would sell really quick. Gone are the days that you don't have to dig deep. You have to ask more questions, and you have to be more of a consultant. So would you guys like to know the key to success and abundance in this business?
Yes.
It is. You guys are so cute. Yeah, tell us, please. It's the 6 personal perspective. So what Gary did was he got a group of people together, and this is when he was writing the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. How many of you have read that book? Okay. How many of you read it twice? Okay. How many of you read it 3 times? Okay. How many of you read it 4 times? Oh! How many of you
Read it twice a year for the last 8 years, so 16 times.
I'm at 12. That's really good. Twice a year.
And I highlight and margin my notes and pick out things that I'm going to do this time that I didn't do last time.
Right. Because every time you look at it, there's something you didn't notice the last time, right? That's 16 times. right? That's 16 times. So congratulations to that. So what Gary did was in the 6 personal perspectives, he got these top agents together and writing MREA, and he's like, what are they doing at the highest level that they're doing the kind of units and the volume that they're doing? And he found 6 common things that they all had, and they were disciplines, right? And he said to himself, well, what is it that differentiates those who achieve at the highest levels and those who don't? Those who just get by versus the ordinary versus the extraordinary. So it was these key 6 personal perspectives, and that's what we're gonna review today. So the first one is commit to self-mastery, okay? So when we say commit to self-mastery, what do you guys think that means? Self-mastery.
Knowing your weaknesses and strengths within yourself.
Right.
Capitalize.
It's not just mastering anything, it's mastering what it is you know you're either good at or need to work at. Here's what people do. People will look at what they don't do well and they go, oh God, I gotta get better at that. No, get better at what you're already good at. It's the exact opposite. So for example, I had an agent, and when I was a team leader and I was interviewing her, and she'd been out of work for like 5 years due to medical, and she used to sell radio ads. And you know how hard it is to sell radio ads back in the day. So I knew that she was super successful because I checked her references, and I thought to myself, okay, she's good at that. So she's been out of work for 5 years. So she's probably really hungry. So I go, okay, so you've never sold real estate, but you sold radio ads. So I'm going to show you something. So I turned my book, and it was all the things you needed to do to prospect, right? So I turned my book and I showed it to her, and I go, okay, pick 3 things out of this list of 10 things that you're willing to do to make the kind of money you said you want to make. Because didn't you say in your first year you want to make 150,000? She goes, yeah. She goes, okay. I turned the book. I go, so circle, highlight, whatever. So she did it. She turned the book back. I go, you have one thing highlighted. She goes, yeah, open houses. And I go, you're going to do open houses and you're going to make 150,000 doing open houses. She goes, yeah. And I go, why open houses? She goes, because I'm really good at face-to-face. And I'm not a cold caller. I'm not a door knocker. I want them to walk into me. But once they walk in, I'm going to really connect with them. And I was like, okay, Andrea, do you know how many open houses you'll literally have to sit to make 150? She goes, I could sit one every day. Okay. I go, at least you have to sit 3 times a week. So that's 12 times, what, 3 times 4, 12 times a month, open houses. She says, okay. So she mastered that because she knew, she goes, I'm not going to be the one that picks up a phone and cold call. I don't know a lot of people. I can't network. So, and she goes, I don't even know how to do marketing. Like, what would I say? Right. So open houses, she did that for a year, and she actually did more than 3. She did 5. Even on properties that were not her listing, she would just run up to agents and say, hey, you know what? I'll sit on a Monday. I'll sit on your Tuesday caravan. And they're like, okay. They're like, go for it. And do you know she made 160,000 that first year? She was known as the open house queen. So she mastered that in which she knew. She says, as long as they come in front of me, I can close them. Like, I'm really good at that. So when you're in self-mastery, you got to know your goal. So we're done with Q1. Are you on track? Are you behind, or are you ahead? You don't have to answer me that. You have to answer yourself that. Your goals aren't going to change. So if you're behind, you have to ask yourself, what do you need to do to get ahead? Okay. If you're on track, great. What can you do to get ahead? I had a goal every year that I needed to do all my business by October. I had to do all my business by October. That was my fiscal year, January to October. And then I took a month off in the summer as a real estate agent. And then anything I made November, December, January, that was all extra money. And I wasn't even at a Keller Williams. I was at a traditional brokerage. So when would you like to make all your money? Right? What you focus on expands. That's what Bold teaches us. So if you said January, you said, I'm gonna make all my money by November, what do you think is gonna happen? You're gonna end up probably making all your money by November. Sometimes I know people have a bad first quarter or they had a bad second quarter. You still have third and fourth quarter to make it up, right? So know your goals, know your strengths and weaknesses, know how to work with both of your strengths and weaknesses. So the question you have to ask yourself is, are you committed to self-mastery? What knowledge and skill and discipline do you need to achieve your goals this year? Anyone? What knowledge, skills, or discipline do you need to achieve your goals this year? That's a live question.
Lead generation.
Okay, so Bonnie, when you say lead generation, specifically, is it a skill that you need? Is it more time on task?
I think it's a little bit of both, but more of a discipline. And I have, just based on that listing thing last
G
week.
Rivers.
Yeah, that was really good. 'Cause it was
Good.
like, just text, ask for referrals, and I'm doing that, and then like names are coming to me, and like active things are coming, so.
Great, so you did listing clinics, so
Yeah.
here's something, okay, part of self-mastery is everyone in here. How many of you have an actual yearly growth plan?
Business plan.
No, it's not a business plan.
No, I have a business
Oh,
plan, is what I'm
it's
saying.
a growth plan. Okay, so what is a growth plan? Can anyone tell me what a growth plan is? Yes, Michelle.
It's where you're gonna acquire your additional skills, so I'm gonna read. you
So
know,
the two MREAs, that's part of your growth plan. That's been in your, for 8 years, twice a year, you read the MREA, right?
Right, but I'll also do like a different book every month or attend a different training through Kelly
Right.
Williams.
Right, and Bonnie, you just did listing clinic. Right, so what if you scheduled your growth plan every year? What if every year you do, twice a year, you're gonna attend some kind of a clinic or a workshop that would help you with your business, whether it's bold, whether it's listing clinic, whether it's agent financial. I mean, I can go on and on. We have so many classes. So that's part of the discipline of self-mastery. Okay, I'm really weak at this. Like an example is scripts and role play. How many of you actually script and role play every week? At least one day out of the entire week with a partner. Great. So you're self-mastering a script. Do you know I mastered a script so well, it made me $100,000? And it was the discount script because everybody else was offering less every time I went to a listing, and I got tired of, I didn't want to reduce my fee just because somebody else did. I didn't want to reduce my fee just to get the listing. Because I knew it was going to take the same amount of work and effort on my part, and if not more so, because I was an expert in the area and I knew what it took to sell the property. So I mastered the discount script. So I would never have to discount my fee, and it worked. So what script or question do you need to master in your business to get you that appointment, to get you that closing, to get you that listing, to get that buyer to hire you versus hire somebody else, right? That's something to think about. Okay, so self-mastery is,
Do you remember
go
that?
back to the next one. Yes, I've memorized it.
Can you share it?
I say that everyone wants to share. Yes, I can share.
This one.
Okay, so I'll role play. Gonna record me, I guarantee it. So, Sasha, you're the seller.
Okay.
You've interviewed Evelyn, Teresa, and I'm the third agent. Okay, and Evelyn and Teresa have discounted their script, their fee. So Evelyn said she would do it for 4.5, and Teresa said she would do it for 5, whatever. Okay, all right. So now it's my turn. I'm walking in. We're sitting down at the table. So Sasha, thank you so much for having me. And I know that you've been interviewing other agents. And have you done your interviews already?
Yes.
great, fantastic. So I'm sure they shared their marketing, right? And what the competitive analysis is. So is there anything that they cover that you felt wasn't fully covered before I go through my presentation?
No, I just really liked the commission split difference.
Great.
Yeah.
We can certainly get to that. So you're saying that all things were on a level playing field and both of the agents presented you with whatever you needed to hear and you felt
Yeah.
really good about
Pretty much
that.
the same thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I guess my question is, you have me here for a reason and I've sold a lot here in this area. How did you hear about me?
Oh, a friend told me about you and your pictures all over the place.
Okay, great. So I can either do a 30-minute listing presentation or I could go into an hour listing presentation, but because you've had two other agents, we're all gonna tell you the same things, right?
Right.
Maybe a little bit different in terms of what the value of the house is, but I can show you that. So would you like a 30-minute presentation or would you like an hour
That's 30
presentation?
minutes. Fine.
30 minutes, great. So the marketing, I'll do the marketing, the list price, I think we're in agreement on, here it is. Is this about what they said that your house was worth? Okay, fantastic. Okay, so what was it again that you said was really important to you that you kind of stuck on right now?
I got a deal in the commission. I don't want to pay 6%.
Oh, you got a deal.
Yeah,
What kind of deal did you get?
well, they were far under 6%, but one offered 4.5.
Wow, so you got one agent that offered you 4.5
Mhm.
and one offered you
5.
5.
Yeah.
So my question for you, is it more important for you to save money or make money?
8 months.
Okay, so what you just told me right now is you got two agents that are gonna save you money, but you haven't told me how they're gonna make you money.
So you're saying I just have to list my house for more with you?
No, not necessarily. You ultimately get to decide, but here, I'm gonna give you a scenario and then maybe I'll come back to you and see if you're ready to do business with me. So it's important for you to make money, right?
Right.
Okay, so you had Evelyn walk in the door, and I don't know it's Evelyn, I'm just giving the person a name, because I don't need to know who they are, I'm sure they're fantastic agents. So Evelyn walked in the door, and she said 4.5?
Yep.
How long did it take her to say 4.5 to you?
Oh, she offered it pretty quickly.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. And then Teresa, don't know her name, I'm guessing her name's Teresa. She walked in the door, did the presentation. How long did Teresa take to get you to 5%?
It's about the same.
Was it in her contract already?
Yeah.
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 So see, here's the challenge with that. You just told me it's important for you to make money. Isn't this the biggest asset you own?
Yes.
Yeah. So would you want somebody to represent you that has a discount mindset?
No.
Or do you want somebody who's a full service broker?
Right.
Who's gonna provide you the negotiations, the presentations, the consultations that you need to maximize your equity in your home?
Right. And if they're gonna pay that fast on commission, how much?
But they didn't even take that much time.
Yeah.
So here's the thing you don't know, is when we negotiate on behalf of your house, you have to trust. Cause I'm your fiduciary, that I'm gonna negotiate up and not down.
Right. Right.
So you had two agents that literally, without asking, already discounted their fees. So what that tells me, and I'm sure they're good agents, is that they just wanted to make a sale.
Yeah.
I want you to help you get your home sold. And I want you as a client for life. I don't want you only for this transaction. So I guess my question for you is right now, is it important for you to make money?
Yes.
Then would it make sense to pay the full fee?
Absolutely.
I charge 6%.
Yeah.
That's it.
Where do I sign?
Yeah, right. So that's it, right? So that's a script that I literally practiced
Thank you.
for months. You're welcome. For months. And I still have it memorized, but that's how
It's an
I
important-
mastered it. Because I kept getting, oh, Ron's coming here and I was like, oh my gosh. And my coach says, Colette, let's practice a script that doesn't discount them as agents, but discounts the way they do business.
Right.
Right? You didn't hear me say anything negative about them. I said, I'm sure they're great people. I'd just be concerned about this, right? Okay, great. All right, so self-mastery is when you decide that you're gonna take on mastering yourself, you accept that challenge. So accepting that challenge is, where is it that you're weak, that if you practice a script to handle that objection, you'll be much stronger in the presentation, right? Okay, the next stop, the second perspective, is the 80-20 principle. It's the idea that 20% of your actions lead to 80% of your result, which is the most powerful principle, because when you think about when you get up every day, what is the one thing you should be doing 80% of the time, and 20% of the time that will give you 80% of your results? It's the lead generation, right? It's the lead generation. I mean, nobody gets up excited to be rejected for the day, although it's our job. And so what you need to do is decide, how do I make it fun so that I don't take it personally, but I know that when that yes does finally come in, I know what that yes is worth. So play a game with yourself, whatever that looks like. You know, anyone here has a goal, like if you sell this, you're gonna get that?
Vacations.
Okay, so when you're lead generating, what if your vision board in front of you at the time had all these places you wanted to go? Would that motivate you? Yeah. Because here's what you don't realize is when you're on the phone and you're lead generating, you literally have less than 2 minutes in your tonality to capture that person to stay on the phone and connect with you. When you're in front of someone, you have probably less than 5 minutes, probably have 3 minutes. And they're gonna look at you, what you're wearing. Then they're gonna see how you speak. If you're at an open house, how you welcome them. Are you looking at your phone? Are you sitting down? Are you working the open or are you sitting the open? We don't want you sitting open houses. So when you look at the 80-20 rule, and 20% of your actions is lead generating, you got to get yourself excited to do that. Because it is the most dollar productive activity. And somebody I was speaking to today, Nicole, I was doing her KPA and we were going through how organized and systematized she is, even to the point where her calendar is color coded. Now, one of the things I like to do, even now, I still do this as a habit and a discipline, is if you look at my calendar, anything is in green means it's going to make me money. Anything in yellow is just an appointment. Anything in orange is personal, right? Anything in purple is my daughter. So I literally have things color coded. So if I see less green than anything else, I'm not doing my job. So if I've got 3 greens and every other color, then I'm not doing DPAs. I'm not doing dollar productive activities, right? So that's the 80-20 is you identify what is your 20%. And when should you be doing your 20%?
First thing,
First thing in the morning.
Maybe.
whenever it's best for you,
Whenever you're gonna do it.
whenever you can feel you can do it.
Whenever you're gonna do it. I would do it first thing because that's when I have the most energy. But I heard a guy talk yesterday. I went to a lecture. Anybody ever heard of the Kobayashi group?
Yes.
This is BJ Kobayashi. Their family, billions. They built Park Lane. They all live in Park Lane. And he was sharing a story. And this is, he said, you know, when I was in my 20s and 30s, all I wanted to do was make money. I'm making money now. He said, and I love my work and I love what I do. He goes, I have a new schedule. And I wrote this down in my notes. He said, 3 things: be fit, take risks. Oh, I knew I was going to forget the 3rd thing. Be fit, take risk. It's in my phone somewhere. I'm going to have to tell you what the 3rd thing is. Oh, don't quit. Be fit, take risks, don't quit. And the be fit part was, he says, from 8 to 12, he does nothing but work out, hang out with his family, his daughter, has coffee, whatever. But from 12 to 10 at night, he works. and then he gets 8 hours of sleep, and then he does that all over. That's his schedule. So when I say, when is it the best time to lead gen? Whenever you're actually gonna do it. That's like someone asking me, what's the best CRM to use? You know, I would say Command. But if you're like, I'm never gonna use Command, or I'm just gonna stick with my phone, I'm gonna be, okay, no, get on Command. But if you said, oh no, I checked on another CRM, well, whatever you're actually gonna use, just use it. Just lead gen and just use it, right? So that's the whole 80-20 concept. Any thoughts or questions on the 80-20 and then the self-mastery? Okay, next, E to P. So the third perspective is going from E to P. And this is one of my favorites, because when you get really clear about that ceiling you need to break through. So how many of you have ever hit a ceiling? Okay, tell me your ceiling. What was the ceiling? It could be anything. It could be a personal ceiling, a professional. Jonathan, go ahead. You raise your hand.
I mean, I feel like ceilings are just when you have goals and you succeed with them, and then you have a tendency, for me personally, to just, I don't know, I guess like get comfortable, lay off, and then find myself like, wow, what happened? You know, but when I look back, it's like, oh, I just did what I set out to do, and I put a lot into it. And then I didn't realize that I lost my motivation, I lost my hunger, and I have to usually just create a new goal.
Yeah, right. So my thing is, you make your ceiling your new floor.
Right.
So if you keep hitting the ceiling and you want to break through, you now need to make that ceiling your new floor and create another one.
And the good example specifically in real estate was when I capped. Like I got in, whatever that first year was, I capped. I was like, woo-hoo. But then it was like a slump.
Which isn't that interesting, Jonathan, because when you cap, guess what? Everything after that is all great. So I feel like before my date, that's what I would get excited about, right? Okay, great. That's a great example. Anyone else have a example? Yes.
When I first started, I struggled because I didn't know anything about it, and I had problem not finding the resources, but not knowing the questions to ask. So I didn't know what to ask, and then I just started asking everybody everything, and then finding more questions. Once I found out what the questions were, then I could go seek the training and all the other trainings that they had through Keller Williams.
Well, great.
So just consistently coming to classes like this.
Right. And discovering, you know what I hear you saying is like, you just constantly are learning, and you can learn one new thing
That's
you
it.
didn't know before.
That's all.
Just
I'm here
one
for,
new thing. You don't need to learn 10. Like, I'll go on something and I'll be like, oh, I really just learned something, but I'll stick around. But that one thing I didn't know before.
Yeah.
Right? So that's great. Anyone else want to share a ceiling that they hit? Okay. So when we say create a new floor, I'll give you an example. So in real estate, I was selling, and I was selling in that. I started was like 175, 250, like in
Yeah.
town in Hawaii, like that was cheap. So then I was like, okay, this was fun. But then I got hungrier and I wanted to make more money. And then I did one deal at 300 and I was like, woo, that was like an extra $1,000, right? This was when I was a waitress. And then, so then I was like, okay, what's it going to take for me to start selling in the $500,000 range? And so I was at the smaller company and I was talking to my mentor, and she was with this really nice company at the time. And I said, hey, how do I get into your company? Because your company is kind of like luxury. And she goes, oh yeah, Penny doesn't take a lot of new agents. I go, I've been in it a year and I hit rookie of the year. And she goes, yeah, but Penny doesn't like to take new agents. And I go, would you just, Margie, just introduce me to her, please. She's okay, I'll have a talk with her. So I went in, I interviewed, and Penny's like, I don't usually take new agents. I'm like, come on, make an exception. I'm really hungry. I really want to break. Anyway, long story short, she hired me. And I was trying to get open houses and nobody would give me open houses. It was like a kind of a snobby office, and they were all older than me. I was like 21. They were all like in their 30s and 40s, and they were all kind of set in their ways. And then finally, one holiday weekend, nobody wanted to sit in an open house. So I was so lucky. They were all up for, for grabs. So then I picked the one that was Kahala by the ocean, and it was a 1 bedroom for $495,000, right? So I'm all excited and I take it, and long story short, nobody shows up to the open house for like 2.5 hours. 30 minutes before the open house closes, a Japanese guy walks in with another Japanese guy, and one was a translator, one was whatever. And I was super nice, and I wasn't sitting the open house, I was up, and even though nobody came that whole time. And the guy ended up buying another unit for me. He said, if you can find me a 1 and a den or a 2 bedroom in this building, I'll buy it. After they walked out, I called, I looked it up, I found one, they came back, they offered all cash. And when I say all cash, they actually bought me a briefcase, and I was like, I need to like, get a check. Can I, going through the translate, I'm like, I need a check. And they bought like 7 other properties from me within the next 2 years. So, like to break through, and it was uncomfortable because I was used to dealing with $200,000 by 3. And here was like a very sophisticated man with the translator, and they had a bank, and, I had to meet the private banker. So, when we say go from E to P, where is it in your business you need to go from being entrepreneurial, which means you have no systems models, to being very purposeful, right? So think anything you can think about that would take you to that level, because there comes a point like here when you're entrepreneurial, you're just naturally driven, you have enthusiasm, your natural behaviors. I'm really good at selling, right? I'm really good at selling, but I'd like to be really good at selling $1 million properties. Why do I have to just sell 200,000, right? Purposeful is when you're totally focused, and I love the word strategic. I'm a strategic person. Any decision I make is strategic, right? So in your business, you need to be strategic. That demographic to geographic, that's strategic. Model, systems, and accountability. Okay, next, learning based. So the 4th one is obvious because that's why you're all here. So thank you for being here. And everybody that's in Zoom land, thank you all for being here. Learning based individuals. So what is a learning based individual? Who can share? What's a learning based individual? Yes, Jonathan.
Someone who understands that life is better when you learn and grow, that you're never done.
Right.
Right.
You're never done, right? It's a constant. You're always learning. My favorite quote is by Jim Rohn. It's formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. That has been my favorite quote for 30 years. So formal education will make you a living, and self-education will make you a fortune. Look at all the greats. They never graduated college. There's nothing wrong with college. I'm paying for one now for my daughter. There's nothing wrong with college. And what I would say is, if you're a learning-based individual, you're constantly learning, you're constantly open to correction, you're constantly wondering how you can improve, how you can do things better, more effectively, more efficiently, right? As you go into this business, every year you're going to find ways to be more effective and more efficient and more strategic. There's no reason anyone has to be running around not knowing when they're going to get paid next. When the minute you're at that point where you don't have a deal closing every month, there's something you're not doing. There's something you're not doing. You have to look at your schedule, because it's like any business, right? Even though you don't have an office per se, think of it like this. When you wake up in the morning and you go to open your business, when you open the doors of your business, it's your connection with people, and that's your lead generation. Okay. All right. All right. Removing limiting beliefs. When you think about when you get up every morning, or when you're super tired and you have a long day, what is a limiting belief that creeps up?
There's not enough hours in the day.
There's not enough hours in the day, and yet we all have 24 hours in a day. We may not have 4 kids like you. Right, but there are ways to get around it and figure it out, and we talked about that the other day. We talked about how you're going to move things around and make things happen, right? So not enough time in the day. What else? What are other limiting beliefs?
Not smart.
I'm not smart enough. Here's the interesting thing. A lot of the people that do really super well as an entrepreneur, they're not all educated.
Not at all.
They're not at, some of them are really great at one thing, and that's how they got their in. And here's what BJ Kobayashi said last night, which was really humble of him to say that. Here's a guy that runs Black Sand Capital, which is a division of his family's business where it's a private equity firm. And in Hawaii, there's close to Blackstone, BlackRock and Blackstone, those venture capital, you know, those companies in New York. He said, I was blessed and lucky because I was born into the Kobayashi family. That's 50% of my success. And he's right. So he had a leg in, right? He had a leg in. So somebody like that, you would think would not have any limiting beliefs, but he does, because he was born in a family. The expectations was, you're going to go to Georgetown, you're going to get your law degree, you're going to come back here, you know what I mean? So everyone has limiting beliefs. And so I would ask you, what are your limiting beliefs? What's stopping you from being the agent who does whatever your goal is, $250,000, $500,000, $1 million? Because it's there for the taking. In this market alone, if you grab market share now, you won't lose it later. There are agents out there right now starting to give up, get really frustrated. That's okay. That's when you keep going. Now is the time that your clients before who couldn't get a deal, yeah, the interest rates are up for a little bit, so what? But now that property might be a little bit less. And if they get interest rates up now, they can refi later when the prices drop. But now those buyers that have lost out and that didn't have any negotiating power, guess what? It's their turn, right? So change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
That one again.
Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. That's from Wayne Dyer. And he was a Maui resident.
Yeah.
Very cool guy. So whenever you have a limiting belief, make it an unlimiting belief. So I'll give you an example. Somebody throw out a limiting belief.
Too much.
It's not enough. Go ahead. Throw out a limiting belief.
It won't work.
It's absolutely gonna work.
Too much competition.
Yeah.
I am the competition.
Right.
No inventory. I'll make the inventory.
Not knowledgeable in the market.
I'm gonna learn how to be knowledgeable in the market. So the inventory one, you know why I love that one? If there's not enough inventory, you go make the inventory. How do you make the inventory, everybody?
Knock on doors.
Lead generate. There are people that don't even realize they need to sell right now. They don't know what's going on in the market. If you're the economist of choice and you make that call, you send them that flyer, you send them an email, as an absentee owner, you can let them know what's going on. Right? You guys heard of that? Yes, Michelle.
Well, right now, you were talking about inventory and interest rates, but at Family Reunion, when Gary gave a presentation, he used that graphic that showed the cyclical cycles. And that if you wanted to sell at the top and you don't sell now, coming over the peak, you have to wait another 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And so that's very powerful when you tell someone you got to sell now, or you're going to be sitting waiting for that peak to come back for another 6 years, and you can show them historically. So it's, you know, you're providing the source. It moves people.
Well, that's what Dean Otto shared last month when we were here at the panel session.
Yep.
that's what he shared. He said he used that with a $10 million client. And he said, well, look, it's okay if you don't sell now, but let me just show you, you know, the stats that it's gonna be another 7 years before we get to this pricing or close to this. And the guy goes, I'm 80 years old, I don't have 7 years. So it moved him to list the property. So that's a great stat to use, right? So there's always somebody gonna benefit in a market. You just have to figure out who that person is, and that's who you're gonna be doing business with. So if it's a buyer's market, you gotta find yourself as many good buyers as you can. Because there have been many buyers sitting on the sidelines saving their cash. Because what goes up tends to come down, and maybe we're not down, but we're down from the craziness. And that was more realistic. And people, think about it, in the crazy times of 2021, 2022, 2020, people were buying property.
Yeah.
So all the buyers that missed out there, so what if they're paying a little interest? Those properties are more negotiable now. So they're still gonna win out, and they're gonna be in the property for some time, right? Okay, the last perspective is be accountable. Oh my gosh, when you hear this word, be accountable, how does it make you feel?
Uncomfortable.
Why, Shane? Why does it make you feel uncomfortable?
I do it.
Right. Okay, what else? When you hear the word be accountable, how does it make you feel, or what do you think?
Makes me feel accountable.
What?
I said it makes me feel accountable that I need to get my butt in gear and do what I need to do.
Karen,
Yes, ma'am, it is.
I love you, Karen. Yeah, so she's saying when I'm accountable, I gotta get my butt in gear and go do that. That's right, you own it, right, Jonathan?
Take responsibility.
Yeah, so when I think of accountability, I think of responsibility. Okay, but what if we replace the word accountable to achievable? Doesn't that feel better? Be achievable?
Yes.
Be achievable. Yes, Jonathan.
I think the reason this one is so important is because, but you know, accountable, responsible, it is an acknowledgement that our situation is on us.
Yes.
So as opposed to putting it on like the market or the situation, or this is happening or that is happening, if you're not where you want to be, you have it in you to be there, and you should take responsibility.
I own my life.
Yeah.
Right? I take control of my life, my decisions, my disciplines, how I show up every day. The market is the market. Someone is buying or selling.
Yeah.
It's whether they're buying or selling with you. So there's, you know, let's, how many agents are there in all of Maui?
2034.
2034. I'm gonna say maybe 1,000. 2,000.
Half did no transactions
Right.
last year.
So there you go. So 1,000 aren't doing any transaction. The other 1,000 are, and in that 1,000, I'm gonna say maybe 400 people are doing 3 or more deals. Okay, right? So do you want to be the 400 or do you want to be the 600? You want to be the 400. There's enough market share there to be got. Right? So be achievable. And here's the thing, when you write those goals down, what are attached to those goals? That's a live question. What are attached to the goals that you write down? I'm just curious. Yeah.
You have,
I wanted to, I'm not answering your question.
Okay.
And you said be accountable, be achievable, and there's no inventory. I just want to say, Daisha's a brand new agent. She was in my pre-license class. She's got 5 escrows going.
Exactly.
She's a new agent. She's in this office every morning before 8 o'clock. She said, I need an office. That's her new office.
That's right. And
She's been in the business 8 months, 9 months, 10 months. I don't want anyone to say that there's no business out there.
Yeah.
She's creating the business. She's finding the business. We all
exactly.
say that.
Exactly. And everyone can do that.
How hard do we want to work?
So again, you own your life, you own the disciplines, you own the actions that you have to take. So be achievable. So when you write those goals, the question is, what is attached to the goals? You said money.
you have to have a why.
The actions to achieve your goal.
Okay, the actions to achieve your goals, and then Karen just said on the Zoom, she said, it's your
You
why.
have to,
Well,
you
what
have
is
to have a why, and if your why is big enough, you will do it. Now, you and I had the blessing of being a single mom that had to provide for our children, but everybody's can create a why that makes them know they have got to do it. And then if that why is big enough, they'll do it.
Say the big why? Here's what it boils down to, everyone. Here's the big word you guys aren't seeing. It's a promise. So you are breaking your promise to yourself when you don't hit your goals. Not to anyone else. You were the one who wrote those goals down. Nobody told you what to write. Yes.
I think you said this once, that I don't wanna have to go home and tell my kids, we're not going to Disneyland because mommy didn't work hard
Yeah.
today.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started making money, it was a matter of survival. It was like I had 6 months in the bank, or I'd be on the street. So first, I just needed some more money, so I wouldn't be homeless. Okay. Past that, I was like, okay, now I want to make over X amount. And once I made over X amount, I never looked back. And then after that, I said, oh, and not only do I want to make that, but then I want to have passive income. And now I want to create wealth. And so it was never good enough to go to my kid and go, oh no, mom's not going to cold call for 2 or 3 hours because we're not going to have a roof over our head. It was a commitment. It was a promise. And it was a promise to myself. That was the why, that I would never, ever, ever have to rely on anyone ever again. Not that I did. My ex-husband wasn't exactly, a moneymaker. But the point is I never wanted to be caught in that position where I didn't have the support net, right? You know the saying, jump and the net will appear. That's what I did. Being a single mom and just going day after day after day and lead generating, it was a matter of survival. And then it was a matter of, I went from survive to thrive. So it's a promise that you made to yourself. So every time you don't show up to work, you're your own boss. Remember everybody said, I want to be self-employed. I want to be my own boss. Well, would you fire yourself or would you give yourself a raise? That's the question. In the last shift in 2007 and 8, I had this exact same conversation. I go, guess what? Your choice. You're going to give yourself a raise or you're going to fire yourself. That's up to you because the market is tough, but you're tougher. So be achievable, be responsible, own it, do it, live it, take action, right? So that's the 6 personal perspectives. And at the end of it here on that, Gary has a quote here, which I love, but it's from a book, which I've read. And if you haven't read it, you should read it. And the quote is, happiness is not an individual sport. There's a reason why I'm teaching this class here today, because Sasha and I agreed that we're going to start having more classes for every level of production, not just the new agents, not just the top agents. We want people in here so there's this energy, because energy feeds energy. And if you were all in here prospecting, what do you think would happen? If you guys were all in a room, I don't care, a desk, and you guys were all lead generators, there's an energy that starts to happen. And then you're going to start getting business. And action creates motion, creates emotion, right? And so the happiness advantage, one of the things it says in the book is even the smallest shots of positivity can become a serious competitive edge. Even the smallest shot of positivity. While everyone out there is going, oh, boo-hoo, the market, go, I have no idea what you're talking about. Daisha, it's fantastic. Bonnie, I've got like these things in escrow that are going to close. I mean, it's crazy. There's business being done. We just have to be the ones doing it, right?
I think Bonnie's got like 10 million in new builds sitting in escrow right now.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
It is.
Keep building those houses.
Well, I meant 10 million in escrow that already sold. You have another 20 million being built to come to market, but you got 10 million already in escrow.
I just wanna press fast forward.
I know, but in the meantime, as you and I have talked about, we're not just waiting on the wait, we're gonna make other things happen. Because the wait is the bonus, that stuff is all the bonus, right? Because if you do that, if you start counting on what's in escrow, I always say, don't, count on what's closed. Escrow is escrow.
Yeah.
You never know, even though you're, oh, it's 75, 85% in. Don't be one of those that one deal falls out and it breaks up your whole, your business because you've lost that one deal, right? Always have fires burning at all times. So you'll notice that in Ignite, I've taught you really quickly the spark your career because a lot of you are already experienced. I mean, if you are a brand new agent sitting in here, I'm sure you're like, oh, what the heck just happened? But I knew that you guys were all pretty much experienced. So I want you guys to share your ahas from this section. And then we're gonna go into another section and I just wanna break it up. So what were some of your ahas from this section?
To create more business. So there's not enough inventory, it's time to really focus on creating inventory.
How do you do that? How do you go and create inventory?
You pick a niche, and you start farming it and working that niche consistently.
Call sellers who were on the market and didn't sell 2 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bizbos,
yeah, exactly right.
prospect buildings you have buyers for.
Absolutely, neighborhood, yeah, send email, send letters. Actual real letters with mail, because people still open those up,
I did that.
right?
Got
So,
about
so,
3 to 4 calls out of complex already.
so share what you did, Daisha.
I had a buyer for a specific complex and there was nothing on the market there. So I just sent, I have a buyer letter and I got 4 calls. One was, I don't want to sell my unit, but I want to buy a studio in the complex.
That's great.
2 of them was, I'm not motivated to sell, but if the price is right, I will sell. And then one guy just called and was like, I'm never selling my unit. So, but the other 3, so I'm actually gonna go look at one tomorrow to check it out so I can give them an estimate on how much they could list it for and go from there.
How did you mail just specifically got the addresses and?
I got that like from the title company of every owner in that complex, and I was on Oahu on vacation with my kids, and my mom stuffed the envelopes, wrote. She hand wrote all the names and addresses and stuff, and then put stamps, and she took it to the post office for me, so that when I got back from my trip, and college was starting. Awesome.
How big was the farm?
There was 207 owners.
Yeah, and that's just logical because even though, how many, you sold 200, you sent out 200, you got 3 responses, right? And then you got 2 maybes. That's pretty good.
Well, and then, so like one of them was, I have a studio and I wanna sell it so I can get a 1-bedroom, so he's gonna be a sell by.
Yeah,
The second one is, we'll keep the unit, but she wants to buy a bigger, a smaller unit too. And then the third one is just, would be the sale, but that's about 4 transactions.
that's great. So, okay, great. So like what you said, Teresa, right? Pick a niche, pick an action, go find the inventory. Okay, that's a great aha. What other ahas did you get? From that one section on 6 personal perspectives. And sparking your career.
Mine is the E to P, because that's where I'm at in my business right now. I'm kind of stuck at E, and I'm trying to like break that ceiling to be more purposeful because I'm a little bit newer. I don't have all the systems and everything in place, so doing everything myself and taking one day at a time. But it's like, I know that there could be easier ways for me to handle the multiple escrows that I'm in and all of this stuff. I just need to figure it out. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I mean, the multiple escrows and, you have a transaction coordinator, right? And so it's really about getting organized in, in a manner where when you have that many transactions going simultaneously, that, you have a check-in time where you, in your schedule, you do a
Every
follow.
morning when I come
Yeah.
in, I check my escrow timelines to make sure I'm on track, and if I need to do anything, I do it first thing in the morning. But I just feel like as of right now, I'm not doing, because I used to sit multiple open houses a week now. And I feel like ever since I started getting into all the escrows, I kind of stopped doing that, and I feel like I'm not being productive because I'm not doing the money making.
Yeah, well, that's the
So-
thing you have to put in, you have to put back the open houses, that's what made you money, that was your strengths. So you got it, that's the problem, that's what happens, it's the cash flow and the cash flow. Cause that's what happens with agents, all of a sudden you have 4 escrows and you're like, ooh, I'm in the money, cash flow, and then you stop doing all the things that got you in the money, and now you have cash you have no cash. And then all of a sudden you're like, what happened? I have no closings coming up. So you constantly have to, you guys have to create a schedule and stick to it. No matter if you have escrows. It's an escrow. It's already in escrow. You have to, if you're gonna create management time, then put that in your schedule, but that doesn't come into open house time. That doesn't come into lead gen time. In your schedule, make it a point where you have time where you're just managing escrows, if that's what you're doing, right? Okay, so how many of you in here would love to get an assistant right now? Oh my God, really? Great. Well, I got just the person for you, an assistant. So how many of you are using Command? That's your assistant. Command, is that not right, Carrie?
Totally right.
You laugh, but I just did that. I released their assistant at the end of the year and committed, and I met with Carrie to utilize Command at a higher level.
No.
So Carrie, come on up here and just share, and then I'm gonna go into the next part of this real quick.
Just really quickly, like Colette said, I think part of the 6 personal perspectives that Command represents for you is that E2P, that systematic, right? Going from entrepreneurial to purposeful. And the system does that, and it doesn't come naturally to most agents, because we're D's and I's, right? But lean into it, because with your database, and Kelly Williams stats, right? And we know that 201 contacts in a database that are systematically and routinely touched upon and related with, right? Kickstarter, you mentioned that you were gonna buy a property at the end of the year. Is that still your plan?
Yeah.
Awesome, great. Well, just checking in, man. How's everything going? And I'll follow up with you later, right? To routinely do that. Who haven't I talked to recently and who needs that touch? Also to send out, Jason Abrams says, every person wants something specific and personalized to them, right? Otherwise, the communication just coming out that they don't want that. They want something specific to them. The system allows you to do that. So a little bit of intentfulness, right? And as realtors, we all want whatever that goal is. We all want the number 4. But when you lean into the system, you're focused on that equation of it, right? That 2 times 2, the action and the information. When you do that and lean in on the left side of the equation, you always will get the goal that you want. Right? It's just that somebody's gonna do it. Right? So some of it, there's leverage, some of it I can help teach 1 or 2 things, right? And the main thing is not to keep the whole thing at a single bite. But what's the one little piece of dynamite that I can do to drop into my database to have business and relationship come up to the top? And really, in a nutshell, that is Command. Right? You have your Command, you have your mobile app to then make those calls at a click of a button and leave your notes in the system mobile. Right? On the go. You're not sitting behind your desk all day long. Right? The Command also now houses all of Keller Williams Realty International, all the training. That slide that Gary Keller showed at family reunion, all the slides are in there. And my last vision speech is in there. That was fire. That was amazing.
You know what the
After-
name of that speech was?
If you went into that Command and Connect, you typed in family reunion keynotes, okay, and it's in come up. So partner, whatever it is that you need that motivation, it's in there for you. Right? So again, it's what is your goal? What do you want to do? And find out those 1 or 2 activities. Colette, during last Christmas or January, I think, we had a little meeting and she basically went around the room and said, how many sunsets have you seen in this past year? I had to say like one. Right, and then I saw Ed Milet's speech where he talks about the power of one more. Right, and those two things changed my life. Right, so you guys are here, you guys are growth minded, you guys are plugging into the education and the power of everybody here. And then lean into the system, there's so much value for not just your clients, but for you.
That's your assistant. Thank you, Carrie. All right, let's go into your vision. So you talked about what Ed Milet said, and I talked about, the reason why I asked about the sunset is because I went to one of the workshops I go to every year, Entree Leadership Summit. And I had a guy named Jesse Isler in there. And Jesse Isler is married to Sarah Blakely. Spanx, you guys know who that is?
Yeah.
Okay. So Jesse Isler sold many companies, and the one thing he said was that one year he's turning 40 years old. And he said if the average male lives to be 85, probably now more older because we're all taking such better care of ourselves. But he said, then that means I would only have 35 more summers left. 35 more winters left. And then I started thinking about that. And that put it in such perspective that I only have a finite amount of time on this earth, right? And so when you think about it that way, you think about what's your vision for your life? What is it that you want to accomplish? So I do an exercise with everybody that I've been getting together with, and I sit there and I talk about your vision and your 1-year vision and 4 priorities of your life. And I'll do it with many of you still yet to come. So in this one example on the vision, what if you created on a sheet? This is not a goal, everybody. It's just a vision of where you see yourself. So go home this weekend, this week, and write 5 things you want to accomplish by next year. That we're sitting in this room and we're high-fiving you. Because if I'm high-fiving you, that means you achieved something and we're celebrating you. So write as if you've already done it. Don't say, I want to. You want to write it as though it's already happening, right? So an example is, your business is thriving and your life is everything you dreamed of. My business is thriving, is present tense. Not going to thrive. And I would be very specific because you understand that the universe doesn't understand things unless you're specific, right? As my daughter used to say when she was a baby, specific, no, specific. So you have to be specific about what it is you want. So if you want to make $500,000 this year, then right, I want to make it. Or do you want a net? There's a difference.
Huge.
Because I've said that. I'm like, I didn't get to keep $1 million. That sucks. You know, I mean, so I'm just saying that whatever you write out in these 5 things, and it can be a physical thing. It could be that I want to be, you know, lean, mean, and 125-pound machine. I don't know what it is. That's probably not even lean, mean. That's probably skinny. But like whatever it is for you. Like I have this thing right now, and this is I'm just going to share it with you all. I want an indentation in the abs. I don't need 6 abs, but I need an indentation. So what I've done is, as of April 12th, I've been doing this 10-minute ab workout every day, plus 2 classes a day.
April 12th? Since last April?
No, this April.
It's not even-
March. So 10 minutes. And I'm seeing a difference. If I eat better, I'm probably really seeing, but my point is, that's not my point. My point is that I'm going to eat a pea on that. And like my vision is, I already see myself in the summer in Italy, what I look like, what I'm wearing. And it's not gonna be much different than I look now, but I'm just gonna feel better, and that's what I'm committed. I'm making myself accountable to that, right? Something as simple as that. So I'm not saying I'm going to have the indentation or be, I'm gonna say, I am looking that way, I'm feeling that way, right? So whatever you write, put it in present tense. That's gonna be really important, that you put it in present tense. And it'll be really interesting, everybody, a year from today, mark your calendars, wherever you write that, take a picture of it and remind yourself in command. Send yourself a reminder in command to look at your calendar or to look at your picture and see what you've accomplished. It's really interesting. Yes, Jonathan.
As some of you know, I practice yoga, and in 1997, I had a wonderful, like one of my favorite yoga teachers. We were doing a class, and he said, basically there are these different kind of things. Like if you want to break a habit, you do it for, you can do certain create for like 11 days. If you want to create a new habit, then you do it for 90 days consecutively without missing a day. Somebody had raised their hand and were like, well, what do we do after we've, done something for 90 days? And he said, well, there's a huge leap. And if you do something for like a specific yoga kriya for 1,000 days without ever missing a day, you've mastered it. And the reason this class was big was because he said, for those of us taking class today, I'm going to do this kriya. And if you want to do it, December 31st of 1999 is the 1,000th day. So if you commit right now today and do this every day for 1,000 days, you'll master it right, at the turn of the century. And the message that I got out of it was, well, one thing was, so I committed to that. And somewhere around 700 to 800 days, the cool thing was when I was doing this practice, I realized I was like, oh my gosh, I got tricked. I got fooled. And what I got was, it's not 1,000 days, it's that it becomes a part of your life.
Yes.
And that you never want to stop. And that's what I feel like, that's what I got out of it. And the reason it's significant is that today was my 26th year anniversary. I never stopped. But I do.
So it became an unconscious competence.
Yeah.
Where you do it like brushing your teeth.
Exactly.
You just do it, right, you just do it like brushing your teeth. So you know why the sunset conversation is important, because you guys don't realize you live in a very, I'm sure you do, but sometimes you don't. You take it for granted, you live here. And you take it for granted the sunsets, and you would be surprised after I started talking to people about sunsets, how many people are going, you know what? I'm gonna start counting sunsets, or I'm gonna start being aware of sunsets. And I go, it doesn't count if you drive by a sunset. You have to actually watch the sun set. And so whenever I come here now, everyone's like, oh, I wanna have dinner. I go, is it where I can see a sunset? Everyone knows. They're like, yes, you got a view of the sunset. And so, but what's making everyone realize is that we don't want to take those things for granted, right? And so when you create your vision as if it's happening now. So write those 5 things. And if I were you, I'd hand those 5 things to somebody as an accountability partner. So you've got, I don't know how many people you have in this room, but because you guys are all here and those of you on Zoom, unless there's somebody you'd rather give it to and not here, but I would say, if you give it to somebody, what you're doing, what do you think you're doing when you give it to somebody and they read it?
Committing yourself.
You're not only committing yourself, but actually you're committing the universe to make it happen for you. Right?
Yep.
One of my favorite authors is the guy who wrote Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist. And he says, basically the quote says is, whatever you want, the universe is behind you. It wants you to have it. The only person stopping you from having it is who you think. You. Yeah. Okay. So that's one of the exercises, is cast your vision. Second is, here is, what does your big life look like? Right? So if you make that money, whatever that goal is you put yourself for this year, what gets to happen with that money? So you all wrote a goal for this year. So this diagram you're seeing is, how do you expand your thinking? And what you do is you put it in there, and what you say is, okay, my goal is to make X amount. And when I make X amount this year, when I make it, not if I make it, the word is when I make it, these are the things it's going to go to. So do you have a visual for that? So it's so funny, I was talking to somebody today and they're like, I go, what's your ultimate wealth strategy? And they go, oh, I want to retire in Sardinia. And I was like, wait, what? That's so random telling me that, because everyone knows I go to Sardinia every summer. And I go, you know, I go to Sardinia. She goes, no. And I go, how Sardinia? That's, well, my husband's from Sicily and it's a blue zone state and it was a blue zone island. And I was like, do you know anything about Sardinia? But that's kind of cool that she's already envisioning that, right? So when you make your money, whether it's this year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where do you want it to go? How many of you actually have like an org chart in your business? One. So what is an org chart? How many of you read MREA? Can somebody grab me the MREA book real quick? So on the MREA is a thing called an org chart. And the org chart is Shane, don't you guys own a business?
Yes,
So what would your org chart look like in your business?
the org chart,
Org chart. In your business of a restaurant, who's the manager?
I was at one,
Okay. And then who's the hostess?
the hostess is the hostess.
Right.
I don't know,
Who's the chefs
Carlo,
in the back kitchen, right?
Yep.
So that's an org chart.
Yeah.
There's an org chart to a restaurant, there's an org chart to your business. So maybe right now on page 197 of this MREA, you look at it and you go, well, I'm just me. Like Daisha goes, I'm me, I'm running 4 escrows, okay. Then when you get, how many escrows do you need to hire an assistant?
I've already got command.
But for Daisha, let's say she really starts jamming. And she's like, I do not want to do it all. I can't do it all. So in your mind, how many escrows do you have to close before you put aside money for an assistant that might
I
run
just
you?
get an intern, so I don't have to pay them.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You get what you don't pay for.
Right.
You get what you don't pay for. So I'm going to share a story with you. I had an agent. She wasn't a newer agent. She's been around for a while, and she would do like 12 deals a year. And I remember I was a team leader at the time, and she came in and she's like, I can't keep up, and I'm not lead generating because I'm so busy. And she goes, I need an assistant. I need an assistant. And I'm like, okay, part-time or full-time? She goes, I can't afford either. I said, you can't afford not to. Do you want to go from 12 to 24 deals? And she's like, yeah. And I go, okay, so what if every deal you do, you put away X amount? She goes, well, how much does a full-time assistant cost? And at the time it was like 30,000, maybe $30,000. I go, okay, so it's 30,000. So save enough money to pay for a 1-year salary. And by the way, you get to write it off. So she goes, okay, I'm never going to save that. So can you deduct it out of my check? Every check I get, can you make sure they deduct it and you guys just hold it? And then and then you let me know once I get to 30,000. I go, okay, great. So how much do you want to save off of every check? She goes, 10%, whatever it was. Within 6 deals, she was already there. So I go, Regina, it's time. We have to find you an assistant. That assistant is still with her today. She's one of the top agents in LA. She does 2 million a year. And the assistant is one of her buyer's agents now. But the point is that she's like, I don't know how I ever did it without an assistant, right? So you just got to get to a point, any of you, if you want to create your org chart and you want to be really successful in business and you don't want to be a lone ranger, is where can you get the help? An intern is fine for a little bit. You know, I even tried hiring a friend, you know, I hired somebody one time, and it was because I got a postcard and they were a house sitter. So this girl was like, oh, how smart she is. She sends out a postcard to agents about, you know, she's looking to be an open house sitter. And then I said, oh, so are you looking to be an assistant? She goes, well, I could be an assistant too. And I go, well, you sit open houses, right? She goes, No, I wanna sit houses. You know, I wanna like, when they're not there, I wanna actually live in that. I'm like, oh, I have to. I ended up hiring her. She was one of the best assistants I ever had. Because she did that. She actually went door to door in real estate offices and dropped that off. I go, how smart is that? Right? So anyway, in your big life, what does that look like? Create either an org chart for your business or create a chart like this. If you make the money you said you wanted to make this year, what are you gonna actually pay off? Or what are what are you gonna, where's that money gonna go to? Where's your dollars gonna go? Okay, to achieve success, you need motivation and inspiration for doing it. You need a big why. We talked about your big why. It's a promise. So the reason why we want you to do that org chart of your money is because you need to know why you want to earn that money. What's it gonna fund? What's it gonna change, right, in your life? All right, I have to move fast. Okay, let's go to the income goal. Okay, great. So here's what you make. Here's what you pay in company dollar and royalty. Here's your business expense, your total GCI, your average commission, and that's how many units you have to do. That's your annual transaction goal.
What page is that again?
This is not in here, unfortunately, because you just have the participation guide, but it's in your Ignite. We've sent you the actual Ignite booklet
Alright.
via email. So when you guys think about how you guys hit your goals, how do you pick? Is it the number of units or the amount of money you want to make? Like when you go, do you go, I have to do 20 units, or do you say I have to make 500,000? What is it?
Amount of money.
Okay, so it's 500,000, right? So then you take the 500,000. So are you saying you want a net 500,000 or you want a gross 500,000?
Net.
Okay, so if you want a net 500,000, the number's a bit different, isn't it? It's really not. So if it's 500,000. That's my goal. So how much do you, if you want a net 500,000 and you're in a high tax bracket, what do you really have to make?
750.
750, right? Yeah, you have to make
Yeah.
750. So, okay, take 750. Okay, what's your average sales price?
Mine is 790.
Okay, so your average sales price is 792.
That's like 800 for rough numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank
I
you.
can't do 792 in my head.
Okay, great. 800,000. Okay, how many units of 800,000 does she have to do to make 750?
Are we talking 3% commissions?
2.5.
I would do 2.5. Average.
Okay, 800,000, that's a $20,000 commission. So 750 divided by 20,000. 37.5.
Okay, so you need to do 30, call it 38.
That's with no company split, that's just gross.
Well, that's the growth.
Yeah. Commission on 800,000 at 2.5 is 20. And 750 divided by 20 is 37.5, but that's no company split.
Well, it's a capping company, so.
If
add
they work
another-
out,
Do 39.
Yeah.
That would be.
That's the 39.
let's
So
just say 40 for rough. That's-
can we do 40? So now, Teresa, that's 40 units.
Right, but I don't focus on units, so that is what my average has been.
Right, what I'm just saying, you have 40 units to do. It doesn't matter. If you, so now take 800,000. Wait, first take 40 divided by 12. What do you get?
0.083.
40 divided by 12?
3 point something, 3
Oh,
point.
it's
Divided
something.
by 12, 3.33.
Okay, so 3.33. So she needs to do, so 8 times 3, that's 2.4 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's either you need to do 3.3 deals a month, or you need to do 2.5 million. It doesn't matter how you spend the 2.5.
Yeah.
So now when you look at that, it's just so much easier. So you have a board that says 2.5 million or 3.3 units. So every month now you look at that and you go, okay, well, I'm behind. Okay, that one carries over to month February. That month. So now you're really tracking what you're doing, right? So that's the visual. Okay, cool. All right, any questions on that? Okay, so now that you know how much you want to make and where you're going to go this year, then you've got your daily success system, which is the 10 conversations, right? So somebody read that. What else do you have to do?
It's the daily 10-4.
Right, the daily
10 conversations, 10 contacts added to command, 10 handwritten notes, preview 10 properties per week. And if you're on hold, double it all.
How many of you are doing that?
No one in this room. I know no one in this room is doing it.
So isn't it interesting? Think about this, everybody. Why am I calling this ReIgnite? Because this is what you learned when you started.
Yeah.
And no one is doing it now. Yet we want to earn this kind of money. Can you imagine if you actually did this? No matter what market we're in, you did this every single day. What your pipeline and your database would look like?
I just had this conversation with my new partner yesterday.
This is why we are bringing back Ignite. It's not just for new people. This is what I've been trying to tell people. It's for anybody who wants to make money. It's for anyone who wants to stay in the business, right?
Exactly.
So this is the 3-10-40. Okay, great. So take a picture of that, do it, live it, breathe it. Right? And I want to see you guys in a year, because if you've got somebody like Daisha who just got in the business, and are you even doing half of this, Daisha? No.
Not.
So can you imagine if she was doing it? That's the point. If she had help and she could do this, or she had somebody doing 10 handwritten notes, or you guys had somebody doing 10, you know, they have these companies that you can, they'll handwrite for you. I actually hired them. I have horrible
What
handwriting.
I will say about Daisha is she is consistent. She listens and learns. And she's in it every single day and in it early. She's here before 8 o'clock. And she's killing it.
Finish early, that's the kids, so I start early so I can finish.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
What was the 10-5-1 social media?
Oh, it's the social media.
The 10-5-1,
Social media engagement.
right?
And
Like,
10 likes,
5
5
comments,
one
one-
DM.
1 DM.
Okay.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Like you do that with people and they'll do that with you. So you're constantly on social media. Sphere definition. So everyone knows what an SOI is. It's your sphere of influence. And I told you guys, I think about a month ago at the team huddle, to pull up the NAR profile of sellers and buyers. So it's really interesting because what I did was I took a picture of the most recent one from Q1. And this is what I found is that the typical seller has recommended their agent once since selling their home. Once since selling their home. 27% of sellers recommended their agent 4 or more times since selling their home. I like this one. 63% of sellers found their agent through a referral, a friend, a neighbor, or relative. 80% of recent sellers contacted only one agent.
What's that percentage on that one?
80%. So you need to be in your SOI.
Oh, my.
You need to be first. We used to say number 1 or number 2. This is saying you need to be number 1. You got to be in touch with them so much that you're number 1. 39% of the sellers use the same agent to purchase their home. So what did everybody else do? Find a new agent. So how important is it to be in touch with your sphere of influence? Consistently, right? Create a plan for that. You guys realize in command, you guys can go through and find migration patterns, right? Of who's buying in Maui. Have you done that, Carrie?
Lots of arrows of Canada.
Yeah. Canada. So here's what I found interesting in the Kobayashi presentation yesterday. He said all the luxury, high net worth money is coming from Japan. Because Chinese can't really buy anymore. And he said if he built a Park Lane 2, do you guys remember how much Park Lane was?
Yep.
He said if he built the Park Lane 2, they already have it mapped out, and they were to put it on the market, he could sell them all out in one day. 4.8 million a property. So there's this gap between affordable, right? And they're building affordable housing now in Honolulu. And then they've got you're talking about the luxury. So it's the ones in the middle that, for you guys, that's the biggest opportunity, right? Anyone between the 700, 800 to 2 million, 3 million, right? That's the opportunity here. That's especially in Maui, vacation rentals, investments, homes.
Hopefully what will come forth to help our first time home buyers is the state legislature is putting forth a bill in the Senate now where they would grant home buyers that $100,000 as a lien against their property to buy as a first time home buyer. And you would pay it back upon sale or at year 30, whichever came first. And so there'd be no payments, but it would be a lien, and it's moving through the Senate. So our local representative, Troy Hashimoto, is one of the sponsors, and it's to help the working class, that 80 to 120% throughout the islands, be able to buy. And that's the limiting factor, is the 10 or 20% down. So they're hoping that would help.
That's an economist's choice.
Yep.
right there.
Yeah, and here's the thing, the reason why I went to the Kobayashi is because I wanted to be more of the economist and understand. And what he said was 70% of their money, their venture, their equity, private equity money is from local businesses and like unions and stuff. So all the money that they make in that equity firm goes back to the Hawaii, whether it's teachers or unions or, you know, any of those, the longshoremen's or whatever. So that was really cool. And then the affordable housing and all of that they're making, so that if you're a teacher and you're a fireman, that you can actually afford a really nice 2-bedroom in town. So that's when you become the local economist, when you know legislative, when you know who's actually buying in state and who's actually selling to move away, right? All right, so Ford, everyone knows Ford. This is to share with your sphere. It's family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And really asking more of the questions, like you said one of the people that responded to you said they never sell, right? So they made it a point to send you a card that said you never sell.
They called me to tell me that they
Great.
never sell, but it's like,
So when someone does that,
There's something there.
well, not only is there something there, but I have fun with it. Like I call him back and I go, okay, so you would never sell? And then he will say, yeah, I'm never gonna sell. But if I found another unit, would you want to buy another unit? It seems like you really like it that much. Like I would play with it about
Some
that.
are fun.
Yeah. And or I would say, well, if you would never sell, do you know anybody else who would? You know, like I would just play with that because there's a reason why you responded. Because if I wasn't ever gonna sell, I wouldn't respond to you at all.
yeah, that's how I am. I get letters. I have a lot on the Big Island. I get letters every month about, hey, want to buy your lot? I just throw it away. I don't even buy it.
But then you took some time to say, you know, I really appreciate you responding and I would respect that you would never sell.
Dishwasher's clean. Unload.
Love this building so much. If I could find you another unit, would you buy? Would you invest, right?
He probably knows everyone in the building, and you should offer him some incentive to feed you the information he hears. Who's getting divorced? Who wants to sell?
Yeah.
Even if it's just a $10 Starbucks card.
And I would even call and go, how long have you lived in the building? And he'll, oh, I've been here forever, I've been here 30 years, oh my God, you're the guy I need to.
Vacation rental building, so like, he doesn't even live, in it. He's on a rental program and he likes money that.
Good, oh, wait, hold on. So here's what I would do, then I would call and go, I know you would never sell, do you think you're maximizing your rental potential in that building? And if he goes, yeah, well, cause I have other vacation rental companies, maybe you need something like that, I just wanna provide contribution and service to you. And then if you do that for him, you see what I'm saying? If he responded to you, it was enough to get him to respond to you, something's up.
Yeah.
I wanna know what, right? Okay, ahas from that section. Vision, casting your vision, being in the present moment when you're writing it out, doing your organizational chart and your income chart, like where's your money gonna fund you this year? Ahas.
That I've taken 443 Ignite and Bold 3 times and stuff like that. Just coming back here is really some value.
Oh,
The enthusiasm and all that stuff
awesome.
gets you going out.
Okay, great. Michelle, you can't leave yet. I need you guys to sign eval. I need you guys before you leave, sorry. I need you guys to go to KWU, please go do this, you can do it on your phone. KWU eval, EVAL.com. And then if my name's there, you pick my name. And if I did a good job, say I did a good job. If I didn't, put Sasha or Michelle's name. You are? Yes, I think I've been the system on that.
What's the
That
name?
was good, Colette.
Ignite, 1 through 10.
Yeah, one.
Are we just
One.
more Callaway?
Here's one. Yeah, spark your career.
Where's the valuation?
It's fast.
All right.
Wait a minute. Are
Are
you in here?
Her name is not listed in alphabetical order, you'll have to type it in. Colette's Ching.
CHIND.
Got a text from you one time. I'm just kidding.
What's the name of the course?
It's Ignite One, Spark Your Career.
Do you have 2 L's or 1 L?
1 L, 2 T's.
5 is the score you wanna see, 5 is the high end, guys.
Difficult. It took me to survey my people on.
Yeah.
Spark Your Career, Ignite One.
Oh, okay, we only have 1 instructor. Is that right?
Bottom will say instructor, one not in drop down. Select that and then a new field will open up in this survey.
See if it's not.
It's saying second instructor's name. Oh, is that Shannon? No, okay.
Thank you.
You found it? I never found it.
Huh?
Bonnie, did you have to type it in?
There it is.
Yeah.
It won't let me type.
You have to go all the way to the bottom and say instructor not in the list, and then it'll open up a new window.
Thank you. One L, 2 T's.
Wow.
Correct.
Your energy and enthusiasm was amazing. I love it. I'm glad we got to get you.
Thank you for coming.
Are you doing the other classes the next?
So,
Other work.
you have all the top agents, no, all the top agents are gonna do it. They're all contributing.
Anybody headed to Wailuku after this?
We only have 2 meters.
I need
Right?
my car's at Maui Auto Care.
Where's that at?
You would take her near the ocean.
Unlock.
Yeah. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Okay, well, they're all looking, any other comments?
You know, I really appreciate the, just reviewing the 6 perspectives and the limiting belief thing, because I feel like I'm doing the same things I was last year and the year before. But now there's this like aura of limiting belief coming from the news media and
Right,
everything, and it's
yes.
just like important to just expel
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get in the way of your progress.
Yeah, ignore it and
Yeah.
keep moving forward, right? Ignore it, keep moving forward. You guys find me, Val?
I found it, but your business is split.
Go all the way to
Go
the
to the
bottom. I'm on the bottom because I haven't taught in a while.
And drop down, okay, and then put CO.
LETTE. And then CHING.
And our region was what again?
Northern California, Hawaii. Spark your career, ignite. Oh, good. Thank you.